Hello and welcome back to this Go Throw coverage of the 2025 New Zealand Disc Golf Open here at the beautiful Oratia Orchard Disc Golf Course in West Auckland, New Zealand. I'm Henry Pearson and I'm joined on commentary here for round two with five-time world champion Juliana Korver. Juliana, we saw a great first round with some rising stars attempting to hunt down the highest rated competitor in the field in Holyn. They're going to be five back starting the day on what might be some sort of interesting conditions. What are we looking forward to seeing today here at round two?
Round two, the weather is going to be a little bit more of a factor. The wind is up, there's potential for rain, and it's a little bit chilly to start the day. Throwing up and over all of these trees, all of those conditions can affect shots in ways that we sometimes anticipate and sometimes we don't.
Emily Weatherman and Sofia Donnecke tied for second and chasing down our overnight leader in Holyn Handley. Emily and Sofia in particular have put in some fantastic performances here on the Tour Down Under thus far in early 2025, and those three are joined by rising star Taylor Choceck, who, like Emily and Sofia, has played each of the first three Tour Down Under events. And with that, we kick things off here again at hole number one.
A very unique hole number one, par 4, 720 feet. The basket is on this mound off to the right. If the weather conditions were absolutely perfect, we might see some of the girls go for this, but not so today. They're going to play it safe, go off to the left, and then they'll make the turn and go towards the basket.
So there was some discussion amongst the tournament operations team here at the New Zealand Disc Golf Open overnight between rounds 1 and 2 as to what our procedure might be if the weather really did start to show its teeth here at the Orchard. It looked like the forecast was going to be for rain, thunderstorms, wind and all the above, but fortunately we see here at this stage the weather's kind of at bay, and Holyn gets her round off to a great start with a nice drive at hole one. Emily Weatherman, who was second place at the Egmonster 2025 Disc Golf Classic in Inglewood, Tour Down Under stop number one, and the winner last week at the 2025 Taupo Classic at the beautiful Spa Park. She is having herself a season here in New Zealand and really only just rolling on from some great momentum she has after being the Disc Golf Pro Tour's Rookie of the Year in 2024. Sofia, likewise, in a great spot. Juliana, we mentioned the hype surrounding Taylor and her emergence in the disc golf world, and she's shown some fantastic form this season, putting herself in a position to challenge for the win at each of the first two Tour Down Under events. One's dicing there with the OB line.
Looks like she's on the right side of it. It's hard to tell.
Gee, and that one really did take a pretty monumental drop at the end of its slide. A little unlucky maybe for Sofia. So she now plays her fourth.
It's a hard one to get up in the air because it is so easy for the wind to take it if you do get it up in the air, and there's OB long and behind the basket as well.
Well, I think those two shots of Sofia just shows us how much the wind is going to be of a challenge to our competitors today. The flag atop the basket was not waving, but the discs would would give you the impression otherwise. One dropped to the ground, one rose up into the air.
Looks as if Emily was out of bounds on her second shot.
So with the overnight rain, this course has softened its ground conditions. Juliana, does that play any sort of notable factor in the approach to the course today here in round 2?
If we were talking about Topa, I would have said absolutely, because there were massive skips on that very dry ground the previous weekend. But here, the ground is kind of uneven. There are ruts here and there. So there weren't a lot of times that I was worried that the disc was really going to flare skip after a shot. It does, however, affect your footing.
Well, many of our competitors are rocking Idiosports Syncrasies, which have their patented or keen waterproofing technology. So those will come in handy today as we see a fantastic long-range bid from Holyn. Can hardly even see the tip of her hat from down the bottom of the ridge, and she just buries it right into the heart of that RPM helix.
Really good power going that far uphill with that putt.
Another good bid from our FPO card, with Taylor saving the bogey from probably circle's edge, if not slightly outside. Emily, uncharacteristic miss. She's usually very tidy around the greens, but that one just got away from her a bit. So with a par on the first hole, our overnight leader, Holyn Handley, is going to extend her lead by a further shot, and she is 6 clear at this stage of our second place getters. We move on, hole number 2.
Hole 2, par 4, 471 feet. Women playing from the shorter tee right here. This plays uphill. The first throw is in the clearing. Then you want to throw over the trees. The basket is on a stump, but also, more importantly, the land slopes pretty drastically from right down to the left.
I know at times in the disc golf community there's debate as to whether baskets should be elevated or raised and whether that's a fair sort of course design element, but I would say this one atop that beautiful stump in the fairway is one that can be given a pass.
I do tend to like the baskets that are on a natural object better than the ones that are just raised.
I agree. It feels like more of a natural extension of the course's features as opposed to an artificial inclusion. 2 good tries there from our players. And just like we saw in round 1, Sofia Donnecke has put it up there in a position where she's probably going to be looking dead aim at the basket from the top of the hill. It really is an advantage on this hole.
Taylor playing this much wider than she did first round. First round, she hyzered off and and was closer to the trees, making it much more difficult. Emily trying to control the hyzer on that sloped green.
I think we saw that at the end of frame there, just nestled at the base of the basket. So a fantastic effort from Emily.
Holyn going long on that approach.
And got away on Sofia ever so slightly. It's been pretty inspiring to see Sofia and all of the activity she's been getting up to here in New Zealand over the last few weeks. She travelled with her road bike all the way from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, and has been using it pretty much each and every day she's been here in New Zealand, playing around in the morning, going out there with her road bike in the afternoon for 50 Ks, coming out here and caddying for someone in the afternoon. It's been a lot of active relaxation for Sofia. But as she's mentioned to me before, that's kind of how she likes it.
Taylor just a little low on that birdie attempt.
Holyn's already made 2 shots up on her round 1 scores on the first 2 holes. She started bogey yesterday, but has tidied up and starts par. Emily with a great birdie. She was, I think, first to play from the fairway here on hole number 2, but she might be slightly disadvantaged in distance against Taylor, Sofia and Holyn. However, she's so deadly accurate with her approach shots that she really does make up some ground there. We move on. It's hole number 3.
325 feet, playing over a valley. Basket is pretty much even with the tee pad. There is out of bounds both on the left and the right side.
This might be some of the calmest conditions we've seen here at the Orchard all weekend. Just a gentle breeze graces the 3rd hole here from back to front.
Something a little different about round 2, the women actually played in the afternoon and the men played in the morning. The men played in pretty much a downpour with pretty substantial winds. So this little tweak to the schedule was a benefit for our division.
Yeah, a few of our MPO competitors were super keen on a particular concert happening here in Auckland, the wonderful New Zealand band Fat Freddy's Drop, which was happening in the evening, and so we accommodated a few schedule changes to allow them to go to that without stress, and sort of paid the price really by playing in the wet and the rain in the morning. But I think everybody was pretty happy by the end of the day. Taylor sweeps that one out to the left and is playing now for her par from the drop zone. That'll be an easy 4, but another drop shot, unfortunately. The 2 sort of leftward misses there from Emily and Sofia. Might have been pushed away by the wind, but a great correction from our leader, Holyn, who jams that one in from 30 to 35 feet. She's off to a great start today, 1 under through 3 holes. And as the wind starts to sort of show its teeth once more, we proceed now to the short 4th hole.
It's par 3, 234 feet. Women are playing from the back tee. It is downhill. It does play shorter than 234, but it is hard to get back to the basket because you really need to throw high on this triple mando in order to penetrate far enough to be onto the green.
Yeah, the ground does start to sort of trail up a hill once you go through that triple mando. And as Juliana said, it is of benefit to the players to Get a little higher as they go through the triple mando.
It's easy to play conservative or to think that you're going to go for it, but your body decides to throw it too low conservatively. Oh, that got a great rise.
What a shot. That was exceptional. It looked like it was a slightly overstable disc thrown on a forced Annie, and it just kind of clipped up with that wind lift at the end. Beautiful shot from Emily it was.
Sofia trying to match it, also getting through the triple mando.
She'll have a putt to make a birdie 2. And Taylor a little low on that one. She's going to fall short. Mando, so no miss Mandos here, which is no trouble for our card, but it'll require just sort of some care in around this green to make sure that each of our competitors safe. Or I might be mistaken. Looks like Taylor has indeed missed the Mando, and she'll unfortunately card another bogey. That one looked like it was going to be right on line in terms of its height, but ever so slightly to the right. And another for Holyn. She remains 1 under here on round number 2. So this course here, the Oratia Orchard, is indeed set on a operating fruit orchard with plums and apricots, apples and pears adorning the various corners of our course. And Roy Sundi and his family have given us the privilege of playing here at this beautiful course, so we thank Roy and his family.
Now, Dan, let's meet our women's finalists.
Boom!
How hard did she throw that?
I mean,
the women's division is getting a lot tougher.
Another one.
World champion.
she's not holding back. Nope.
Good round, ladies.
OTB is very specific on how they list the disc because they want you to like the disc.
Virtually in your hand tells you what the disc is going to feel like, how heavy it's going to be. It's everything you want to know before it shows up to your house.
Not just marketing.
It's only the best.
Brought back by popular demand, Z-Lite plastic from Discraft. Disc that you already know and love, now available in lighter weights. This plastic is perfect for players with lower arm speeds as well as beginners. They can also be a great complement to the regular weight version of a disc that's already in your bag. Z-Lite, more distance with less effort.
Hole number 5, Juliana.
Par 3, 182 feet, shortest hole in the course. It does play slightly uphill, and with this very low ceiling, there's just a tiny little window in which to throw in order to get it high enough to get underneath the basket.
It's a tricky little number, this hole. Particularly with that elevation change and as an additional factor to the canopy. You said?
Emily beautifully getting her way up there. One thing I have noticed that the shrubs are close enough together that if you are way offline, you tend to just bounce down the shrubs, and you rarely go to the other side of the bushes.
Mm. That's a bit of a note to self. The next time I go out there and have a dabble, be putting that on my notepad, my course guide.
Taylor getting that too high up in the air, going past the basket. Going to have a very obstructed putt coming back.
Boy, that was a marvelous looking putt there from Sofia. And she can't have been too many horsepower short from pushing that one up into the basket. Another good effort from Holyn. She grazes chains on her way past. So all of our competitors this week have been staying just down the road at the beautiful Balaraka a retreat centre, which is hosted by our friends Simon Feasy and Yvette. And Holyn, I think, aptly nicknamed our place there the Frisbee Frat House for the week. 25 professionals dotted around every single nook and cranny of Balaraka. But I think it made for a nice atmosphere, Juliana.
It absolutely did. And the Balaraka course is quirky and beautiful and so much fun to play. Here we are at hole 6, another par 3. This is 330 feet, very similar to the third hole. We're throwing over the valley. There is an out of bounds line, both right and left, and long if you happen to go behind the basket. This is a tricky one to get to. It's just within reach for these players, but it really has to be the perfect line.
Yeah, as Juliana said, this hole very similar to the third hole that we saw earlier. The only real key difference being the length, where players would be throwing maybe a 7 to 9 speed on hole number 3. We'll be disking up on this hole and throwing anywhere from a 10 to a 13 speed. Yeah, Holyn's got the right idea. I think she's learnt from yesterday with the wind pushing her disc to the right. She's chosen something probably more stable and finds herself with an outside look for birdie.
Wind acting very differently on Holyn and Sofia's shot, pushing Holyn's in the air and slapping Sofia's down to the ground.
Taylor finds herself in a similar position to round 1, but she has all the skills to save her par from there. And week in, week out here on the Tour Down Under, or any professional disc golf tournament for that matter, the winner is decided by a test of skill and a bit of luck. But I would say this weekend, with the wind at play and how swirly it is against the Oratia Orchards rolling hills, that luck might be just a slightly bigger factor than it might be at any other week. Juliana, would you concur?
I would, because we're playing over and through these orchard trees. The luck that I see is whether or not you have an open shot or whether you're directly underneath or behind one of these trees.
Well, Holyn had another good look there at birdie, and an outside chance that she gave it every chance of going in again. And it's only a matter of time, I think, before she's dropping a few of those in. She's still maintaining a 4-shot lead on Emily, who has pulled back a couple of shots in the last few holes. That's a great putt from her. Not the cleanest scorecard thus far, but that putt should give her some good confidence as we start to round out the front and head into the back. Just one blemish on the card for Sofia Donnecke, and as we round out the par 3 6 hole, we head to my favourite hole on the course, the downhill par 3 7.
Hole 7, 410 feet, significantly downhill, playing from kind of a protected area out into the open, so it is hard to tell what the wind is doing down by the basket. This isn't an island green because you can go to the safe side of the creek on the left, but it feels like it's an island green.
Yeah, you said it really well there, Juliana. This hole, or at least this tee pad, is protected really well from the wind, and so it's so hard to tell where the wind's going. Unfortunately, Emily tucks that one a little too far right, so she's going to be left with more than 300 feet from atop the hill. Wind direction today is opposite to the prevailing wind. It's left to right for our competitors here on this hole. It's usually over their right-hand shoulder and from behind them. So maybe a little bit different from how they've prepared for this hole throughout the week. Sorry, after you.
Sofia finding safety there.
Well, we saw her unfortunately go short OB right yesterday, but she makes a great adjustment and finds herself putting for birdie.
Wind really getting a hold of that one. That is safe. It's just a long way away from the basket.
Indeed.
Like Emily slipped a little bit before she released that one.
She had to run a long way downhill to get to that disc, to plant her foot, and unfortunately finds the creek to the left of the green with our friends the eels. So Holyn and Sofia both have outside looks here, birdie, and we've seen Holyn be a little dangerous from this distance, so watch out.
Oof. Very close on that jumping putt.
Another touch of metal from Holyn. I think that's 3 or 4 by my count, already in 7 holes outside the circle, where she's had a real good look for her birdie. I think Sofia would like that one back. She put herself in a great spot to take a shot here on the card. Just couldn't quite do it, and Taylor likewise, unfortunately, a little wide. She's got slightly shorter of a distance coming back.
Good catch on the left-hand side by that helix basket.
I might be biased, Juliana, as a New Zealander, as a Kiwi patriot, but the RPM helixes are just my favourites, I tell you. They're like sculptures for our sports. The beautiful sort of helix cage, you can see they're wrapping its way up and around to that top part of the cage. It's just a sight to behold.
Without a doubt, they are the prettiest basket on the market. And they do a very good job catching.
That they do.
Hole 8, par 3, 257 feet. Plays a little bit downhill. There's an OB line the entire side on the right. Safety on the left, though it slopes up and you have to contend with the trees if you go too far to the left.
Yesterday we saw this hole play into the wind as that wind would funnel down this valley at the lowest point on the course. But today it might be so slightly different with a touch of tailwind behind our players. What type of stability of disc are you recommending here on this hole, Juliana?
I would be throwing something, well, that other people would think is incredibly understable. For me, it's very neutral. That tailwind is really going to emphasize the fade at the end of the flight.
Taylor will have an obstructed look up and over that orchard tree for her birdie. Emily now with some type of putter. It looks like the same disc she threw in round 1. We saw her throw that within the circle, but like you said, maybe something a little more understable would have kept that disc on line longer throughout its flight.
Though on this one, you really, if you want to make a mistake, you want to make it left so that you don't get the penalty of the out of bounds.
That is Slight mistake there from Taylor. She would have liked to have taken a wider berth around that tree, so it's going to have a little bit of a tricky putt from within 15 feet to save her par. Great putt from Sofia from the knee to card her birdie. She gets back to even par on the round.
I was practice putting with Taylor before the previous event, and one thing that I was very impressed with is that she, even though the green was clear of obstructions, she was practicing from one knee and then the other knee and a straddle and a straight. So she really was trying to warm up all of those particular options.
Wise beyond her years. Taylor's, only a couple of years over 20, but is showing a lot of promise for her disc golf career. Hole number 9 we move forward with.
It's a par 3, 291 feet. This is trickier than it looks. It's slightly uphill. It is reachable, but there is an out-of-bounds line on the left that comes into play pretty quickly. The green is obstructed on 180 degrees, so unless you're really close to the basket, you want to be in front of it.
Sofia in a similar spot to where she was in round 1, a little bit too far right. And like we said, with our round 1 coverage, if you're just 15 feet left or right of that sort of opening greenside gap, you really do just have to pitch up to the opening and kind of take your par. Holyn might have a tiny little look through some pocket of the bushes there, but we'll see. Taylor, I think, got too close to that OB there on the left. She found it yesterday and unfortunately might find it again. This looks like a slightly better shot there from Emily.
Drops very close to Holyn's, I believe.
So one's going to be giving the other a little read there through the bushes. Or maybe even carving out a slightly larger window to putt through. There we go. We see Sofia's only 20 feet to the right of that gap, but has absolutely no look for her birdie.
Not enough clearance, not able to get the disc up in the air.
So a lot of tap-ins here for our FPO lead card, and we started the day with Holyn Handley leading the pack by 5 shots. She started at 2 under, and looks like she's maintained precisely that lead. Even par on our front 9 for each of our top 3 competitors in Holyn, Emily and Sofia. So the action will roll on to our back 9 in just a moment here at the Oratia Orchard. And with that, we close out our round 2 front 9 coverage at the 2025 New Zealand Disc Golf Open presented by RPM Discs. Holyn Handley continues to lead the pack with a relatively clean front 9, just 1 birdie and 1 bogey, gracing her scorecard. Like we said, Holyn, Emily and Sofia each keeping their scores from round 1, rolling over with even par on the front. Juliana, you've popped up there into 4th position, and Michaela Kerr and Taylor Choceck trail slightly there, 9 and 11 over, respectively. All to play for here at the New Zealand Open as we move on to the round 2 back 9 coverage. We will see you shortly here on Go Throw.